How about another round of applause for them? That was amazing. Thank you both. I love alignment, and that's what this whole service has already been. And I'm sitting here in the front with a big smile on my face, so thank you all. Last week, Reverend Brian invited us into something simple but very profound. He spoke about moving from criticism to appreciation, about remembering that love breathes through me, and that I am a center of love. Today I want us to take in how that shift works and why it works as well, because it's a movement of our consciousness. Life is dynamic, unpredictable. It's full of forces that we can never control. Life is like a hurricane. And as Floridians, we know a little bit about hurricanes, right? The outer bands are very loud, violent, debris flying everywhere, and everything feels out of control. When our consciousness gets trapped in thinking about the future or being stuck in the past, that's when we get lost in those bands. You get stuck in that perspective where life feels like it's happening to you. The immature ego starts asking, why did this happen to me? Why is life so unfair? And when you're in that to-me consciousness, criticism comes easily, and love feels conditional. But criticism isn't a failure. It's a signal. It tells us where our awareness is at the moment. And when you realize that the ego is causing this pain by positioning you as the victim, that's when you begin to shift gears. You decide, I am not going to let this happen. I'm going to take control. At that point, life begins happening by you. I'll fix it. I can control this. I've got this. This is where a lot of very sincere spiritual people live. They choose their thoughts, they monitor their actions, and as Brian said last week, they live like there's a movie crew following them, recording every single thing that they're doing. And that works until it's time to rise up. And from there, we start to really understand what Charles Fillmore taught about willpower, saying willpower without spiritual understanding doesn't bring peace. It rearranges appearances. So while trying to control the storm may feel powerful, it still keeps us getting beat up by the wind. The spiritual path was never about calming the storm, because the storm is made up of way too many things that were never ours to control. The past, the future, the what ifs. Take a deep breath with me. Release all of those things that are out of your control. You don't calm the storm. You shift your consciousness into an area where peace already exists. At the center of every hurricane is the eye. As Dee Dee sang so beautiful, you can dance in a hurricane, but only if you're standing in the eye, where the air is still, where the eye of the storm has no power over your inner state. As Reverend Brian said, love breathes through me. When we allow love to flow through us, naturally, surrender happens. And I don't mean surrender like giving up responsibility. I mean surrender as, I'm going to stop trying to control what was never mine to control in the first place. When presence and surrender meet, awareness drops from being in this racing mind and into the heart. This is the moment we begin to see with the eye of the heart. Take a deep breath in, breathe into your heart and feel it open. Mary Magdalene, apostle to the apostles, lived from this place. Mary didn't recognize the risen Christ through logic. She recognized him through resonance. Her heart knew what the mind couldn't analyze. While the others were frozen in grief and fear, Mary was able to see clearly through the eye of the heart because she wasn't resisting life. This way of seeing shows up wherever the heart is willing to surrender. We don't deny the storm. We see it clearly. We see the debris of our lives. We see the past heartbreaks, the choices that we made that we may have regretted, and the losses that shaped us. You might recall in April 2023, a rainstorm dropped over 20 inches of rain in a matter of hours. My younger sister, she lost her home in that night. It was a very, very traumatic experience for her. The flood was so bad, the streets looked like rivers. Water was rushing in through her doorway. Her favorite books were floating around the house. The furniture was getting shifted all over the place. And there was nowhere to go. And I remember when she called me, hysterically crying, "Jonah, I don't know what to do." She climbed onto her bed with her cat, trying to find shelter in her house, while she saw her life literally getting washed away. May, Enzo, and I, we grabbed a paddleboard, inflated it in the house, and we paddled through the sea that used to be her neighborhood, got her and her cat onto the paddleboard, and rescued her. It was a very memorable moment. But saving her from the storm, it didn't end the storm that existed in her consciousness. She moved in with us for a few months, and her consciousness moved to that same shift. Why is this happening to me? Why me? Why did I have to lose my house? And to, you know what, I have to do something. I'm going to take action. I'm going to make a change. But she was stripped down to her essentials, and life forced her to surrender. During that time, a very close friend of hers told her something that changed everything. She said, "You have to learn to appreciate all the bad things that are going on right now. You don't have to approve of them. You don't have to like them, but see it clearly." That insight helped her experience an inner alignment. Not because the storm made sense, but because she stopped resisting what happened. Appreciation, it doesn't erase loss, but it gave her the clarity to build again, but this time from the eye of the heart. Take a deep breath in. Breathe in that gratitude for everything in your life. Let out all that clouds your mind. Charles Fillmore taught the 12 powers as spiritual capacities within us. And appreciation activates these powers. As consciousness continues to mature, life no longer feels like it's happening to you or by you. It begins to happen through you. It's participation without control. You still act. You're still taking conscious effort, but that effort changes. You're no longer forcing outcomes. The words, they come out without rehearsal. And compassion moves from before the mind has any time to interfere. You're not the author of the moment. You're the instrument of the moment. Eventually, you begin to realize that nothing is separate at all. And a member of our congregation who's not here today, but he gave me permission to steal this. David, if you're watching, I love you. He said, I am a spiritual being living in a spiritual world, having a human experience, and I am attached to nothing. When he said that, it touched me. I knew I had to add this into the talk. Because attachment keeps us in the bands of the storm, but non-attachment brings us freedom. That is Christ consciousness. Jesus lived from this place. As our way shower, the Christ consciousness leads us to the highest state of consciousness, living as me. From here, there's no separation at all. No coincidences, and no need to control anything, because we could see the storm clearly, and we recognize that its infinite potential exists within us. The second coming isn't an event. It's a shift in consciousness. When the storm hits you, you don't start by fixing the situation. You start by locating your consciousness. You notice, am I trapped in victimhood right now? Am I trying to control everything? And then you pause and surrender by releasing everything that was never meant to be controlled by you. And you bring yourself back into the present moment. Take a deep breath in. Back into the body, back into the heart. From there, you practice appreciation. You ask, what is this moment asking me to see clearly? And you stay present long enough to listen, to have the discernment, to receive the message. It's a practice you can return to again and again. Every time life tries to pull you back into those bands of the hurricane, you are the resonance or the dissonance of your own consciousness. What you choose to see is what moves into the world around you. Unity principle number 3. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. The storm will always be there. Bills are always going to come. Relationships will end, and we're all going to experience loss. But remember that you don't have to live in the bands. You can return to the center, and you can choose to see to the eye of the heart. And from there, love isn't something that you do. It's what you embody while the storm is still moving around you, and you dance in the eye of the hurricane. And so it is.